Modern witchcraft and druidry are both younger and older than you probably think they are. They've been around for a while. They've changed. They've grown up. They've matured. But they are modern. We need to stress that. I know a lot of people like to talk about being generational, fill in the blanks. We're going to have to dissect all this as we talk about the modern revival of witchcraft and druidry as we walk together down creation's path. Hello, everyone. My name is Charlie. I am a Christopagan druid and priest of Bridget.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian. I am a Christopagan druid and sous chef to the Dogtail.
Today, we're going to be talking about how did all of this come about? Because we are living in an age where it feels like paganism, neo-paganism, heathenry, Wicca, witchcraft, fairy witchcraft. I keep going. Druidry. I'm not even done yet. Are just flourishing. It's because people are looking for alternatives to what they had before. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and we do our best to not be a part of that. Though some people who leave comments, you should listen to the whole video first.
Or even the first 5 minutes.
It's the first 5 minutes. We got you covered. Anywho, today we're going to be talking about the origins of the modern witchcraft and Wicca revivals, as well as the origin of druidry. But before we get into all that, we do original Christopagan and Druid content 5 days a week, Monday through Friday on this podcast. You don't want to miss anything that we have coming up. We have a lot of stuff planned for Samhain. We wanted to talk a bit about witchery today, so we're going to be doing that. So don't forget to like, subscribe, follow. Don't miss an episode of what we have in store. I am not here to cast aspersions on anyone who claims to be an X-generation witch. Did witchcraft just come back in my family first generation? I'm not saying that they're lying. I am saying that there is a emphasis that has arisen on this lately that I've seen from a lot of TikTok and YouTube creators where they are trying to show their bona fides by talking about how long this has been in their family. I could say that I am a multi-generational something. My great-grandfather was a cunning man and taught me a lot when I was a kid. I wish I would have paid more attention. My great-grandmother knew a lot of stuff too and would take me on walks in the woods and talk to me about stuff as well. So maybe I could claim that and get something from it. But I'll be honest, I do not live or practice like a cunning person. So I could claim that, but my practice, like a lot of neo-pagans, modern pagans, Christopagans, and the like, my current spirituality is informed mainly by two people. And they were friends who lived in England. And they were Ross Nichols and Gerald Gardner. Now, don't get me wrong, both the Druid revival and the revival of witchcraft preceded that. The Druid revival you could probably date to William Stuckney in maybe around 1701. When he wrote his first book, I believe, on the Ashbury Circle. I believe that one came before the one on Stonehenge and kind of kickstarted everything. It definitely goes back to Yellow Morganog, who was in the 1700s. Witchcraft, I have to blame on Robert Graves, and that's all I'm going to say about that. You also have the Gospel of the Witches being written at around this period of time in I think that was the 1800s, which is an interesting book in and of itself, but you have this early spiritualist revival of witchcraft that happened in the 17 and 1800s. And again, I'm not saying that nobody's practice goes back further than that. I'm just saying that's really where the modern revival starts.
One of the interesting little notes is, if you remember back to some of the earlier episodes we talked about, this is also right around the time rise of science and modern thinking. And so you can see these things in response to each other.
A lot of it was a response to nationalism, which was arising at the time, and people not wanting to lose their actual folk ways to give in to the new stories arising about the national identity. This is the time of the Romantics. We have a lot of pastoral poetry coming on and a lot of earthy-based spiritual practices. I don't even want to call them really religions yet, or they weren't even really spiritualities. They were just connecting to the earth and to the big scare quotes old ways that were happening. Most of our practice, whether we know it or not, goes back to, I'm going to actually say 3 people because there's a latecomer to the story that factors in very heavily in here. But most of it goes back to Ross Nichols, who is the founder of modern day Druidry, and most of the way it's taught and understood and thought about. And Gerald Gardner, who really brought Wicca together. They were friends. They shared a ceremonial sword together. And if you don't think that your spirituality goes back to these 2 men, Jean practice 8 solar-based festivals that go around the year, 4 of them coinciding with the 2 equinoxes and the 2 solstices, and the other 2 6 weeks apart in the middle. That's Ross Nichols. Ross Nichols created the Wheel of the Year. I hate to break it to people, it did not exist before him. Now, many of the festivals did. There was the 4 Celtic fire festivals predate him. He did not invent them, but there is no sign that any of the Celtic groups paid attention to the actual solar dates, the equinoxes or the solstices. There's no record at all that they actually cared about them. The names that are used for them were created by either him or Gerald Gardner. There is no historical Ostara or Mabon festival. Those came about from these 2 men. That does not invalidate them. If we're going to be better than our forebearers, who like to do the lies and the cover-ups and really entrench their power in unearned mystique and falsehood, we have to be honest about our heritage and where we come from. It's not a bad thing that most of our modern traditions only date back to this period. It's the way it is. Now, they drew on earlier stuff. A lot of Ross Nichols' work was him trying to systematize both his own study of Celtic folk religion and his understanding of the Druids, but a lot of it is him trying to systematize Iolo Morgana's Barthas, which, if you try to search that online, Barddas, it's a Welsh word, just putting that out there, which is a 2-volume, very complicated, claims to be pulled from various sources. It's an interesting read. I highly recommend it if you're interested in these topics, but a system it is not. And this was his attempt to systematize all of that, which he did in his book of Druidry, which was only finished and published posthumously. But his work was a part of the founding of the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids, and that rippled out. While the other Druid orders do have their own unique backstories, AODA has very interesting ritual work that they do. The reformer that was brought in to help revive them and keep them going was John Michael Greer, who is a member of OBOD. And while he didn't reorganize everything to be more OBOD-ish, right, there's still those connections that come in. Gerald Gardner, of course, founded one of the first schools of Wicca, basically cribbed from Ross Nichols' notebooks. There is a mythological difference between modern-day Wicca and modern-day Druidry in practice. And they're pretty much the same thing. A lot of the ritual frameworks, the understanding of magic, and that goes back to our secret 3rd person here, which is Aleister Crowley. We know that at least Gerald Gardner was in communication with Crowley and had shown Crowley his early drafts for the correspondence course for what we would know as Wicca. We don't know much other than that. And in fact, both devotees of Crowley and Wiccans tried to distance them from each other because, let's be honest, Aleister Crowley is not the kind of person that people want to be associated with usually, unless they are really into Thelema. Crowley really did have a huge impact on how everyone practices magic. He repaired and streamlined a lot of the Golden Dawn practices that came before him. And even the Golden Dawn, that's the late 1800s that they come about. The secret 3rd person is Peter Carroll. I feel like he has to have an honorary mention here because whether or not you know you practice chaos magic, unless you learned your magic from one of the traditional orders like OBOD, AODA, one of the traditional Wiccan schools, or somewhere, you're probably actually practicing a form of chaos magic more than you think. I'm not going to get into a lot of that, but I feel like he deserves an honorary message, an honorary shout out here. And that's not until the 1970s that he comes onto the scene. But he has had such a major influence that it's hard to remove him from most of the modern discourse. Like I've heard some people say, I don't practice chaos magic, and then explain their practice and it's chaos magic. They just don't realize it. And that's fine. You don't have to know where everything is from. You don't have to be a historian to be a part of any of these movements, unless you're a strict Reconstructionist, and then that's kind of your jam. Like, that's the whole point of Reconstructionism, right? You want to get into those source documents and dig in and try to bring back as much as you can.
Even then, a lot of times I would just wish they would be a little more consistent within their own stated objective, because sometimes these strict Reconstructionists partake in the cover-up, partake in the obfuscation, or muddying the waters, or taking something completely out of context and then trying to justify its existence. Just be consistent.
Here's the thing. Something doesn't have to be ancient to be... If I had to say, name 3 books that have had the most effect on my life, one of them would probably be the Silmarillion. If we're being very generous, he started writing that in the 1920s? But it wasn't published till much, much later. It wasn't even published while he was still alive. That doesn't invalidate it. We have this weird view that we inherited from the Romans, that ancient is better. I am of a different perspective on this, and I think better is better.
Better is better. I mean, it's straight up.
To me, the antiquity of something really doesn't matter. It's one of the reasons why I like to point at and poke holes in this idea that things are from antiquity. Like our episode we did on Satan.
Yep.
A lot of religious folk and spiritual folk like to believe that this is an ancient belief that goes back into the dark recesses of times, but isn't. And the same is true of most of our witchcraft. Even if you did inherit it from your mother or your grandmother, are you sure they never read a Scott Cunningham book? Or Gerald Gardner's book? Or Raymond Buckland?
Yeah. Or did the correspondence course?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I like to do to help get some understanding on this front is just going to break it down from a completely different perspective. Think about like solar power. We've got these solar panels, new tech. Solar power is also ancient. It goes all the way back, beginning of time. People warmed themselves in the sunlight, like since ever, since we were ever on this earth. Solar power goes all the way back and has had different iterations. I remember as a child, one of the science projects I did was I made a solar powered water pump, but I did it with a metal panel. There wasn't even all the fancy circuits and even more modern solar tech, but better is better. There were even wind power, windmills and stuff. It's not better, it's not worse. It was better than grinding it by hand.
Let's be honest, I don't want to practice the old ways. I think if we're really honest with ourselves, none of us really do either. I don't want to be sacrificing sheep and doves. I don't want to do that. Before you try to say that's not part of my tradition, if you go back far enough, they were sacrificing animals. I don't know of a tradition, except for maybe Buddhism, that didn't have a tradition of animal sacrifice. There are actually legends in Hinduism that explain why they stopped killing animals and went to various other votive offerings and how those substitutions happen. There are still in the Vedas lines about which knives to use and what ladles for the blood and everything.
Even in Buddhism, when you're looking at the causal chains, Siddhartha was Hindu before that and came from that tradition.
I was just saying, in Buddhism itself.
Yeah.
It gets an asterisk. And before anybody says, well, Christianity, because I know there's going to be at least one person, the Crusades and the witch trials were human sacrifices done in the name of God for the cleansing of the earth.
Yeah.
So, no.
Yeah, there was a lot.
No. Christianity created human sacrifice many times in its history, whether we want to call it that or not. A holy war is mass human sacrifice. And they declared many holy wars. That's what the Crusades were. They were mass human sacrifices to appease an angry God. I'm not letting Christianity off the hook for that. Maria Peretti, who wrote a beautiful book called The Mirror of the Divine Soul, I believe it is. Beautiful book. If you like medieval, early Renaissance love poetry, it's that, but about God, it's really pretty. They burned her at the stake using copies of her own book for kindling. Nah, you're not off the hook. That's human sacrifice.
Yeah. And the minute you go, but it was done to get rid of the evil. You sacrificed a person to dismiss the evil energies that was in the area. That is sacrifice. That's human sacrifice. Congratulations. Keep it real.
And then that's the thing. I want to practice better magic, not necessarily old magic. That doesn't mean I want to reject the old ways. I think it's important for us to study the old ways. I don't want to wrap myself in the freshly cut off skin of a bull and lay by a waterfall to journey into the other world like the druids did of old with rocks on my chest. I don't want to do that. But you know what? I can mimic this with a nice weighted blanket and a sleep mask and maybe a white noise machine in my ear. Yeah. Better is better.
Better is better.
And I understand the technique. I get the technique. There's something about having that really tight weight over you and the sensory deprivation of it that does help with journeying practice. I get it.
Yeah.
But I'm not sacrificing a bull to do it. I don't think anybody's arguing for that. I'm not trying to straw man this. I would just say nobody is practicing the old ways. All of us out here who are calling ourselves witches and Wiccans and druids, we are all practicing some new form of this art. And that's okay. But we need to be honest about that. Because I get that there's like this envy, right? Christianity's 2,000 years old. You know, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, these ancient faiths. Mormonism is younger than modern Druidry. Joseph Smith did his whole ministry almost, about 50 years after the first new Druid orders from the Druid Revival. It's fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. People aren't having the same reaction when it comes to something like the Church of Latter-day Saints or the Baha'i, who are also around, even younger, by the way, because Baha'u'llah started his mission in 1888, I believe? The antiquity of your faith does not make it better or more right. All it does is connect you better to your ancestral line. The reason we are so caught up on this, like I said, it goes back to Rome. Rome had this thought of old things are better. Religions are ancient. This is really the argument about Christianity when it first started. Christianity could not be seen as a religion by so many Romans because it was new. That was the only thing they had against it. It was new. Nobody knows who founded the Eleusinian Mysteries. Nobody knows who started the various oracle sites in Egypt. They're ancient. Even when they met Judaism, they were like, well, okay, well, you're saying that was like thousands of years ago, back in Egypt times? Okay, you're an ancient religion, you're fine. And they just accepted it as a religion. Christianity, they couldn't accept because, no, religions are old. I think that left a scar on Christianity that has been passed down the generations to us. It's a weird generational trauma. It's fine to be young. It's fine to be new. What isn't fine is being in a high control group. What isn't fine is being in an organization that does not permit you to ask questions, that lies about its history or gaslights people about it. So yeah, most of our practice only goes back 75 years, 100 years maybe at most. And that's fine. That's fine. I don't want any actuallys. Well, I found this fell in this grimoire. Yeah, we've all done that. Look, I've done the Rite of a Bremelin when I was younger because I had free summer and I didn't do it right because I kind of speed ran it because I think it's supposed to take you 6 months. I did it in 3. That's older. If you know what I'm saying, like, this doesn't make it better. It actually makes it worse. There's a lot of unnecessary fluff in there. And the person that I was doing it with, we kind of reconstructed parts of it because no, that doesn't make it better. We're always trying to make our magic better. I like to remind people the word experiment came from the esoterics. The old grimoires refer to a ritual, a spell, as an operation or an experiment because we're testing. Does this work? If I do this, does that happen? If I do this, does this happen reliable? And that's what we're testing.
This plant used over and over again to help heal various ailments was then experimented on. We had aspirin and we continued to experiment on it, finding the downsides.
And you see all the benefits that we're learning from quercetin, which was in a lot of plants that were seemed to have very magical powers. St. John's wort, what they're learning about lavender, and I could go on and on and on and on and on, right? And that's the glory. I don't want the old stuff. It's great if the ancients thought that these things help. There have been studies. I don't have to guess, is lavender going to help with my mood? There are peer-reviewed studies. Lavender will help. That's a benefit. That's nothing but a benefit to us.
Now that we've taken you to this point in the journey, some of you might be sitting back wondering, well, okay, but so then what's the point or purpose? This is where part of the ancestor tradition comes in. It's good to know that lineage that you came from. When you're picking up these practices, it is good to look into that and be honest about it and know, like, this way, if you have, say you have issues with Crowley and you pick up a tradition that goes back to Crowley, maybe you should think about it and think about what that actually means and come to terms with that. Don't try to just cover it up or deny it because that's fine. That's fine.
He's a complicated person.
He's a complicated person. He did good things. He did bad things. He did all kinds of stuff. He's very complicated. It's good to know that. It's good then to look into it and see. You know.
The British government thought he might be able to end World War II.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish they would have actually tried. Like, they couldn't get the rest of the government to let him do it, but that's a whole thing. We can do an episode on that. Because I have a weird fascination with Aleister Crowley. I like to think of it this way. Magic is like water. It's everywhere. Some of it is out in the vast ocean that we call God. Some of it is in us and our spirit. All of our spirits are like lakes, ponds, pools, eddies in the current, whatever, however you want to visualize it. But some of that magic, some of that energy is like rain. Our traditions are rivers. They are channels that have been carved out before us that make it easier to collect that water and steer it towards useful. Just because that river is the way that it is doesn't mean that that's how we can't make it better. Because unlike a real river, where putting in dams and stuff can be really, really problematic, and aquifers and whatnot, we can put in aqueducts. We can fix the flow of the river. We can make it better. And the whole point of the tradition is that we're tying into this channel that is already carved out and is easier for us because a lot of other people have done the prep work, so we don't have to. Because without the traditions, we will have to reinvent the wheel every time. And it's always wonderful when you see a new witch or a new druid or a new occultist feel like that thrill of discovery. And then you start asking, when do you tell them that that's in Agrippa? Like in the 1600s, that's in one of the 3 books of occult philosophy from Agrippa. Like, how long do you let them have this? Like, I discovered this new thing that's amazing. Because, yeah, you're going to discover this new thing that's amazing. Or you could study the tradition and have the work done for you, or at least the preliminary work, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time.
I think that is the big takeaway, too, is remembering it's about being inclusive, not exclusive. If you're talking about the lineage in the ancient times to exclude others, you done wrong. You overstepped the line. Step back. If you're doing it to be inclusive, to go, okay, wonderful. Have you followed your tradition back? And what other sources are you pulling from, or have you looked into it yet? Just even that simple question, like that becomes inclusive. That pulls them in so they can understand that they're trying to collect rainwater and there's a river raging just behind the shrubs, just to the other side of the bushes. You just got to help encourage them, let them know.
If you want to like understand, like when I say I don't want to practice the old ways, the Greco-Roman magical papyri are online. You can read translations of them for free.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to use needles. I don't want to have to find freshly dead bodies. I don't want to be killing chickens. I don't want to eat a mouse.
Yeah.
I don't want to trick somebody else into eating a mouse. So on that, like, there's this no. But also, if you think witch talk is new, oh no, read the Greco-Roman magical papyri, because they're pulling in from Judaism, from Greek religion, from Roman religion, from Egyptian religion. There are some names in there that we don't even know where they came from. And that's not even getting into the nomina barbara, which are these weird, we think, nonsense phrases that were used like mantras maybe, but we have no records of them before or since. They just appear and disappear. They're fascinating documents, but they're all our attempts to understand how to utilize and connect to this wonderful, amazing world around us. And that's all we're doing. So don't get caught up on it. Is your magic authentic? Is it your magic? Does it work for you? Guess what? It's authentic. Congratulations. You have the Charlie seal of approval. I just do think that, like, there are some rules. Don't hurt things. Don't hurt yourself. As long as you're not hurting yourself or others, and your magic's probably fine. I will judge you if you hurt yourself or others. There's a few times that you will get me to be very judgmental about you. But yeah, our traditions are new, and they're glorious, and I love them. They're simultaneously ancient, because the whole glorious vision of Ross Nichols is that we get to live the story of Taliesin, which is a beautiful story that connects us with so many wonderful characters and this wonderful epic adventure in this beautiful mystery school that he started, which is why I'm a proud member of OBOD. So it's ancient in that way because those stories are old, but it's also a very new usage of them, and that's fine. Take what works, learn from each other, bring in some of that Jungian psychology. It'll help you out. Active imagination is great for visualization work. And we'll talk about all of that in future episodes. I hope you found this informative. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, don't forget to like or leave a comment or rate and review. Let us know in the comments, what tradition do you follow? Do you have a tradition? How old is your tradition? Do you know? How far does it go back? Because while I'm saying that our traditions don't go back to much further than the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they have connections that go back even further than that. Back to the 1700s, at least for those of us who practice Druidry. Just curious, have you ever thought about it? Or have you just accepted the story of this is the old ancient ways? Let me know in the comments. If you're listening to us on YouTube or Spotify, you can leave a comment right there. If you're listening to us anywhere else, you can leave a comment there, but they won't let us know. Head over to creationspaths.com, click on chat. You can leave a comment there. We will find out about it. We'll be able to respond to you. I'd love hearing from all of you, even when you don't listen to the episodes and leave us a book. I'm sorry to pick on you if you're listening, but that's what that episode was about. Yay.
I mean, I'm glad we're in agreement.
Yes.
I just wish, if you expected us to spend that much time reading the comment, you would have spent the same amount of time listening to the episode, and it would have been easier just to go, hey, yeah, good job.
All right. So we've got some fun stuff coming up. It's going to be amazing. As always, we like to end with a prayer. Oh, wait, I forgot the thing. While you're over at Creations Pass, if you have a few dollars you can pass our way, you can either join a membership over there. Thank you to everybody who does that, including our new patron, who we did not ask if they gave us their permission to say their name, so we're not going to say it, but thank you. And that helps us out a lot. Or you can go over to Ko-fi or Patreon. I am C. Dorset on both. That helps us to keep food on our table, roof over our head, and the lights on. And thank you so much to everyone who does that. We are right in the struggle bus right now, but it's fine. Everything's fine. I have some new creative projects coming up, which I don't think I'm going to promote here. Let me know in the comments. Is it gauche for me to promote my other work on here? Let me know. I have feels. And as always, we like to end with a prayer. So may the one life revive within you a spirit of adventure, so that you might go out and recreate your own tradition in a way that is vital and gives you life, meaning, and purpose, and helps you to connect to the deep magic flowing through all things. Amen.
Amen.